Froogle Sim videos are powered by Jetline Systems.
Hello YouTube, this is Froogle, and this is actually part of a series of videos I'm going to be doing looking at first the F-16 and then the F-18 in DCS World. This video is sponsored by Thrustmaster, and I'm using today their Thrustmaster Viper stick here with the magnetic base. What I want to do today, actually what was supposed to happen today, is a fully loaded flight. In fact, almost fully loaded flight. It was going to be pretty awesome, but I'm struggling. And I'm struggling with one facet of the F-16, which is air-to-air refueling. So what I'm going to do today is show you where I'm at with that and give you some tricks and tips. Maybe I'm not a pro at this. I have looked at a bunch of other videos online of other people doing the F-16 refueling tango. None of them get it right either. So I'm not feeling too let down, but I will show you some stuff first of all. So obviously with the F-16 stick, what I've done, let me show you in the options up here. I did set a curve. Now, what curves are, they change the sensitivity of the joystick or the throttle, incidentally, through various positions. So it can be more sensitive at a certain point, less sensitive at another point, everything else. It is key when you're refueling to not overcompensate on moving the controls. So it's actually useful to have a bit of a curve applied to the joystick. Now, I did actually try to make the curve fairly big. Let me show you what I'm talking about with curves, first of all. So if we find over here, joystick, there's my pitch there. It's assigned to joystick Y. If I go ahead and click on axis tune, there's the curve. And what you can do is you can go ahead in here and you can change this value and do all sorts of lovely stuff. And if I were to do that, for example, you'll see that within the initial range of movement, the stick is actually not that sensitive. Oh, wrong one. Sorry, it's the Y. There you go. That is actually, quite a lot of movement of the stick is not producing much deflection within the cockpit itself. And then as we get towards the edges, then it gets a lot more violent. That's what a curve does. What I had done, I initially set a curve in here that was about 20, 25. And I actually found with the Thrustmaster base and this joystick, that's actually way too much. The joystick is incredibly sensitive anyway. So I've got it down to a curvature of number 4. And if you look really closely, you can see a slight bend in the line here for the Y-axis. I've done the same thing with the X-axis. It's actually the same curve, number 4. I did read online on the DCS forums, people saying, really, you need to be all over the throttle as well when you're trying to refuel these aircraft, up, down, up, down, up, down. So it helps to apply a curve to the throttle. I'm using a Warthog. Can't show you that on camera at the moment because I've only got one camera, but I am using the Warthog, and I did go in there and I did set a curve on that, but I think last time I tried this, I took it off. So there's no curve on that at all. So try messing around with the curves. A lot of people suggest online setting a fairly high value, like 10 or 15 or even 25 on these curves, depending on your joystick. Even with the Thrustmaster joysticks, it might help you. It just slows down the joystick response. For example, if I were to put in 25 here, there you go. You can see it's really not, I can move the joystick quite a lot and it doesn't deflect a lot within the cockpit, which is actually what you need when you're getting used to it. But as I said, I've been practicing this for hours and hours and hours, not in any way perfect, but I don't think I need a 25 anymore. But that's what the curves do. You should use them. Incidentally, I am doing another video in a little while looking at programming the Thrustmaster sticks for the F-16, but also other aircraft and how to get them exactly the way they should be for a realistic feel within your aircraft of choice. Anyway, with all that said and done, I'm going to stop this video, we'll cut it, and I'll jump straight into the cockpit and talk you through refueling, such as it is. Okay, so here we are. Now, this is a training mission I actually downloaded from the excellent Red Kite. I highly recommend you check out his video on refueling. His is a full tutorial on refueling the F-16. Mine is not. What this is really my tricks and tips, and what I've found kind of gets me almost where I need to be to finish refueling without killing myself or anybody else, which is kind of cool. So this is Froogle's tips and tricks, really, as somebody that struggled with this. Let's check out Red Kite's video for the full tutorial. Now, I'm following a tanker. He's over here. And what I'm going to do, in this tutorial, you're actually starting off directly behind the tanker. So I don't really need to go through and do TACAN and all that kind of stuff. But I will, and there's a reason. So let me jump into the cockpit here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get information with this tanker. When I get information, I can set up all my controls within the cockpit, that is, the way I want. And the reason I'm doing this, and I don't need to, is it actually gets you comfortable. And when you're practicing, it gets you comfortable, I have found, with the aircraft. So just, not putting yourself at risk, not putting him at risk. Just let's get information. Let's be where we need to be at the right altitude, at the right speed. and just focus on formation flying for a little bit. Now, what I tend to do for the formation flying, you can see his two engines there on the left side, his port engines on the port side. What I tend to do is try to get a picture where they're both kind of overlaying each other and just hold that picture. As you can see, he got away from me a little bit. Now they're coming back into where I would like them to be, which is about that view, and I'll try to hold that, so jiggling the throttle and everything else. When I have this stable, which is about now, I'm actually going to put the autopilot on, and that will hold this altitude, and I can go through setting up the cockpit. So in terms of setting up the cockpit, if I were trying to find him, I'd want to be using TACAN. He's on channel 14 Yankee, so I'd go TACAN ILS, press 0, enter, and you can see down here it says band Yankee. Then we'll go double down, 1, 4, enter, see where we're at, we're still good. So now I'm on 14 Yankee. Next thing I'm going to do is set up the radios. He's on 251, so go to COM1, 251, enter. Now, what I'm going to do now is bring up my fuel display, which would be here in the DED. I'm going to bring it up at the bottom of the HUD, so I don't need to look around to try to figure out where I'm at with my fuel. So there's my fuel. I'll look down here and I'll press this. I can't zoom in. Here, I'll press this DED switch up twice. Boom. And what that's going to do, you can see it there, it's mirroring the DED now at the bottom of the HUD. So with all that said, now I can't open the refueling door, which is actually here, because that will disengage autopilot. So I'm actually going to disengage autopilot myself and get back in formation with him. I'm actually going to properly fly in formation with him now. So no autopilot. My aircraft is pretty much set up the way it should be, except my radar's on, and I'll fry everybody on board, so we'll turn that off. There we go. There we go, radar's off. So I'm going to get in formation with him and just get comfortable flying alongside him, adjusting my throttle, trying not to climb above him, trying not to drop down too low beneath him, just getting a feel for where I need to be on the throttle, and of course with the joystick. And by the way, I was struggling with this a lot, and I had my old Warthog base on here, and I did switch it up at the weekend. I was getting so frustrated with getting nowhere with this. I actually switched the base for the magnetic base, which I put in the video recently, and it's actually helped. I don't know what they've done, or whether my other one was just getting old and worn out, but putting the new base on it has helped. It's a lot smoother now, it's a lot simpler to control. The other tip that I found, by the way, in terms of control setup, and I did mention this in the review, is that base that's normally on this is actually big enough to sit on. You can actually put it underneath your thighs and sit on it. And the reason I say that is actually having the joystick in the middle of your legs, although that's not accurate, that's where it is in the F-16, although it's not accurate, does afford you a little bit more control. I'm not doing that today because obviously I don't really want to be pointing a camera between my legs. But you get the idea. Alright, so we're at 300 knots. He's supposed to be going at 300 knots. He's not. He's actually more like 299-ish. It kind of goes up and down a little bit, to be honest with you. Which again is why it's so important to spend just a little bit of time here getting used to flying with the tanker. If you have the fuel to do so. Obviously, if you are at bingo fuel, then you want to be hurrying up and getting in position quickly. Notice how I'm messing with the trimmer as well. I have the trimmer where it should be, and I'm tapping the trimmer to try to get the aircraft where I want it to be. Not holding it, just tapping it. So my speed's coming down now, 306, 303, 302, 301, 300. That's good. Now I'm just going to keep an eye on him. I am climbing. In fact, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you something else while I'm trying to stay in formation, because none of the videos I've seen or the tutorials I've seen talk about this, and it's actually key, I have found. So let me pause. Okay, look here. The flight path indicator, right? The little aircraft symbol in the middle of the HUD. Normally, people tell you, lock eyes on the aircraft you're trying to be in formation with. Lock eyes on the tanker, stay watching the tanker all times. Yeah, that's great. But also in a real aircraft, you have seat of the pants feel. You can kind of feel what the aircraft's doing if you're climbing, rolling, and all this kind of stuff, which you can't in a sim. I have found this to be ridiculously accurate. So what I will do is try to get in formation and have this as a solid line all the way across and focus on that, glancing at the tanker. Same when I'm actually underneath the tanker trying to refuel. I'll get under the tanker, get where I need to be, then just glancing at the tanker, but holding that flight path indicator exactly level as much as I can and adjusting for that. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get back into flying. So I'll show you right now. So I'm climbing according to the flight path indicator. There, now I'm level. And I'm just gently adjusting with the stick there, that tiny curve I have applied, really helping. Now we're climbing. Let's bring it down. Actually really helps in me being a lot more conscious of what my aircraft is doing. Obviously the tanker is flown by AI, it's perfect. So he is going to hold a constant altitude, he's not going to waver. So I'm just locking my eyes right now on that flight path indicator to see where I'm going. And I'm feeling pretty comfortable. So at this point I'm going to go, we'll just trim down a little bit, trim up a little bit. I'm going to go comms up and we'll press tanker. Texaco 1,
Texaco
refuel.
1, Springfield 1, 2,
Open the doors.
rejoin. Springfield 1, 2, Texaco 2, 1, proceed to pre-contact at 20,000.
Now what I've done here is not good, because this is useful. I'm not going to cut this out of the video actually, because if you were to do this for real, you're actually going to drop down through his jet wash. So I'm going to try to get underneath him a little bit more rapidly. There we go. Now bringing the power back in, and we'll get up in line with him. You don't want to be dropping down, so you don't want to go above him and then drop down behind those engines. You will get bounced around, particularly if you have jet wash turned on, which DCS World does. By the way, look at that stick. Look how much I'm moving this, but how not much, if that makes sense. I'm putting in a lot of adjustments, but they're not dramatic adjustments.
Ready, pre-contact. Cleared contact.
Alright, so we cleared contact. Just going to slide forwards gently. And I'm watching at my flight path indicator still. And that gun cross. Trying to keep the gun cross lined up on the center of the tanker. Trying not really to look at the tanker, to be fair. Except out of my peripheral vision. As that speed comes up there, just dropping it down. Watching my flight path indicator again. Started to climb a little bit. Now we can watch the lights on the front of the tanker. The left lights indicate if I'm too high or low. The right lights indicate if I'm too far forward, and I'm currently at the right altitude. So we just need to not climb, keep lined up, peripheral vision, and get forwards. Now I'm doing a bit too low now. There we go. Alright, now we got contact, so we're taking fuel.
You're taking fuel.
We're just going to try to stay in formation as long as possible, adjusting that throttle, gentle movements on the stick. And try to get a full load of fuel. You might disconnect a few times, and that's okay, as long as you don't collide with the tanker above you. I'm going too far forwards, back, 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 back. And there we go, I'm pretty much done. I have disconnected, but I'm pretty much done. Whew, it's tricky. And all I can suggest, unfortunately, there is no do this.
Abort rejoin.
Do this and everything will work lovely for you. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You just need to practice, practice, practice. So like I said earlier on, put in a little bit of a curve on that joystick. That can help. Practice flying in formation with the other aircraft, in particular the tanker, and not climbing, not descending. So a bit like this, not gaining too much on him, not backing up too much on him, you know, that kind of stuff. So just maintain position, maintain formation until you're comfortable, because back here or off to the side there's no risk. If you get it wrong, you're not going to collide with the tanker and wreck yourself and him. The other thing is, like I said, look at that flight path indicator in the center of the HUD. Once you get in position, look at that to reference whether you're climbing or descending. More than anything else, use your peripheral vision to keep an eye on the tanker and juggle and jiggle that throttle so that you're going forwards or back and trying to hold position. You'll get it eventually. It has taken me many hours, and as you just saw, I'm still not perfect. It still takes me a little bit of effort to do it, but you will get it. Stick with it. The F-16 is just notoriously difficult to fly. As always, my name is Froogle. Thank you so much to Thrustmaster for sponsoring this and providing me with the awesome F-16 Viper stick used in this video. Until next time, I'll see you all very soon.